Welcome to my Tuesday stream that's happening on Monday because I am in San Francisco tomorrow. I already see a lot of people in the chat room. As always, let me know where you're watching me from, and most importantly, what kind of an electric car you are driving. I have a great guest today. You guys are going to absolutely love her. And what I decided, I know I switched topics a few times, but I decided, you know what? I released my Sunday news video yesterday, and I hope you guys watched it. So we're just gonna go over all those. I think there's 7 different stories, and why not get your take on it? Um, Tom always chimes in, and I actually chimed in on top and a secondary story, and I figured, it would be kind of cool. We'll answer some questions. Of course, she'll chime in as well. As a matter of fact, it's going to be very interesting to find out her opinion about it. So we're gonna start right now. Welcome to E4 Electric. Hopefully, you have already clicked on the subscribe button. If you haven't, go ahead and do that. And if you have, well, there's a like button right next to it. There's always something to do on YouTube. So let's do that. And now, like I mentioned, I'll be in San Francisco um, tomorrow. Wow, tomorrow. And on Wednesday, I'm going to be driving the Mustang Mach-E GT. I do have an ulterior motive there. Why I wanted to go is because me and Tom have not seen each other for, you know, year and a half because of COVID. This is going to be the first time we're going to see each other. So I am extremely excited about that. And of course, we'll probably snap a few pictures and do a few videos for you driving the Mustang GT. I know it's going to be too fast for me. I just know it already. So it's going to be a great experience, nevertheless. All right, I see so many regulars, but I also see a lot of new people. Jay Ramirez in Texas, Xpong fangirl. Um, as always, it's great to see you guys. It's the most favorite part of my week to be here hanging out with you guys. Lots of people from Texas, United Kingdom. Alan, thank you so much for joining me. Anyway, so let me just give you the topics before I bring her in. And by the way, the hope you enjoyed the Sunday video. It's a pretty controversial topic, right? So the top story was that Elon went after Biden for not inviting him, kind of taking a few shots at him during the CodeCon 2021. And then there are 3 electric car models that are just about to start, their deliveries, which I think is going to be a big deal. Rivian, Lucid, and Hummer EV. And then Tesla set a new record in deliveries. Lordstown Motors decided to go about making their cars, making their trucks by selling the factory. But that will work out, it looks like. Another electric car on the market, well, a prototype really from Atlas, and a Rolls-Royce actually finally stepped into the 21st century and unveiled a product. It wasn't really a prototype; it was more like a Photoshop project. They kind of just photoshopped it in. Looks all right, but they have a lot to prove. So, hey, David asks, how are you? Okay, I see Arizona, San Diego. Um, Someone's speaking Russian to me already. It says, "Привет, Alex." How you doing, Pedro? I don't know, Pedro. Do you speak Russian at all? Because your first and last name sound very Latin, so you're confusing me. Let me know. But kudos on that. Let's see. Daryl says I ordered a Model Y yesterday. I found my insurance company was $350 cheaper than Tesla's insurance. Why do you think that is? Well, Tesla either does things really well or really poorly. So electric car battery technology really well, insurance very poorly. This is their second shot at it. Plus, what do you care if you found a great deal? Though $350 cheaper, how much is it actually going to be if that's a discount? But anyway, it's who cares? And I believe they are at first time they used I forget they used the third party. They used the existing insurance company, but now it's really them. All right, so let me bring in my guest, Miss Go Electric. But before that, let me do a quick shout out to one of my newer sponsors, and that with them where I myself used their service to figure out the best setting and the best system, solar system for my house here in Sacramento and for my house in Las Vegas. And they're basically like brokers for, so you get to deal with all of the solar product companies like Tesla and everybody else. So um, check that out. All right. So without further ado, let me bring in Miss Go Electric. How are you?
Hi everyone. I'm wonderful. How about you guys?
I'm doing pretty good. Let me just switch. Boom. There you go. All right. So first of all, because this is your first time on this channel, and I know we talked yesterday, a couple of days ago. Tom Malogny introduced us. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing and what you've been doing on social media.
Yeah, so as you can imagine, there has been a lot of open opportunity and creativity that has presented itself during the pandemic. So just to give you guys a little bit of background on what I typically do for a job is I am a part of usually teams that go out and educate consumers, dealers, or OEMs, employees on new product launches. So I've worked for a lot of automakers when they're coming out with a new product, and I educate everyone about them. Or when it's an EV client, which is my main focus right now, I educate them also on charging technology and all the lifestyle aspects that go with electric vehicles. So, um, since most of my work is in person and with mass amounts of people, I really had this opportunity during the pandemic, since it slowed down quite a bit, to be able to create, still do what I really love to do, which is education for EV advocacy. So I created the Misco Electric channel about a year ago, actually. And since then, I have been doing product reviews and CEO interviews and things of the like, somewhat similar to you, Alex, but focusing on pure all electric technology.
All right. Well, already there's a question from, and it's a good question from Jay Ramirez. Where can we find Miss Go Electric? And also, if you don't mind, type that in, and we'll put that into the chat later as well.
Yeah, sure thing. So I am on pretty much all your favorite social media channels at Misco Electric, all one word. And you can follow my YouTube channel at Misco Electric, youtube.com/Misco Electric.
All right. Awesome. Well, so let's jump right in, and you guys can ask questions. Hey, somebody asked, is she a female Tom? Uh, well, I don't know. You can answer that, but we'll find out, I guess.
So I actually have appeared on Inside EV's podcast. I filled in for Kyle for one stint, but my stuff, I don't focus just on charging technology, which Tom doesn't either. But that's kind of his main thing, is talking about charging and doing range tests and stuff like that. Mine's a little bit wider scope. So yeah, I love product reviews. Since I've been in automotive for so long, I think I have a very unique perspective. And also, since I'm a female, I have a unique voice because there are a lot of males in this industry. So it's really good to finally join the group and get online and start educating more people through this means of technology instead.
And where are you based? Is actually someone was asking.
Yeah, I'm out of the Detroit area.
All right, and I know we talked about it because I'm a Detroit Red Wings fan, a
Yeah.
hardcore fan, and so are you. And I've never been to a home game. I've always gone to the Sharks games down the street in San Jose, where I'm essentially from. And I'm kind of used to getting booed by about 17,000 people because I wear my Red Wings jersey. But I'm looking forward to actually rooting for the team at one point at the home game.
Yeah, you got to make it out here. It's a special treat now that we're in a new facility, the Little Caesars Arena. It's really, really nice. But we do have some work on our team. We do have to get a little bit more competitive, shall we say.
Yes, we should stop sucking. See, this is exactly how you are, Tom. I will say this, but You're much nicer. Okay, I like that. Yeah, you are a female Tom because, and you're right. I go to all these media drives, and obviously it's not that hard to see that most of the journalists are, white guys, old white guys, really. I'm a proud of member, I guess, but but a lot of decisions on buying cars, general, not just electric cars, obviously come from women in the household because men want the power and the stereo and all that stuff, and women go like, hey, we got kids over there, how about we look up at the safety ratings for the car.
Yeah, and usability factor. A lot of times when I'm watching a YouTube review, I'm not fully getting everything that I want out of it because, they can talk heavy on the specs, which I'm comfortable with and I like to know as well, but I also want to know some of the more practical and usable features of, everyday use of the vehicle. So, yeah, it's very it's I welcome any other females that want to get into. We need more, so the more the merrier. Even in the EV space, I know there are a lot of white dudes that do it, like you said, but the more the merrier, in my opinion.
We do need more, and I'll tell you why. And like a lot of times, a lot of the conversation, even with electric cars, is on, well, how fast does it go, right? And I'm going to test drive the GT version of the electric Mustang, and honestly, and I just test drove the all-wheel drive, much more powerful ID4, which I have in my garage. And I couldn't care less. I literally would rather have a comfy ride and a better user interface. So I'd like the conversation to shift into more consumer and realistic type of statistics and needs that we should have, really.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the reason why we have so many auto brands. So everyone likes things a certain way, and they can pick different trim levels, even so. So, yeah, that's what's the beauty of the auto industry is it is vast and very. You can customize it any way you want by picking which vehicle you want. So.
Bradford Zink in the chat room says women have a holistic view of reality for the most part. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say I agree with that.
All right. Well, okay.
Pretty
So
comprehensive.
let's dive into the first topic. I don't know if you watched my Sunday video, but basically the top story was that Elon Musk has gone after President Biden. And by the way, this is not a political conversation. I mean, it's just a political setting. I get it, but I don't want to hear Biden sucks. Trump this. Like, this is not that part of it. But bottom line is, it is this, and I'm going to kind of recap everything, and then hopefully you can jump in and tell me your thoughts. So Joe Biden's administration, they held an EV summit. They invited the big three, which was Ford, General Motors, and what now is Stellantis, used to be Chrysler. And they basically talked about how they're going to be transitioning into, all electric, and not really all electric, 50%, 50% by 2030, which is not great. Didn't invite Tesla, didn't even mention Tesla. And the president, or I don't think he's a president, but the United Auto Workers representative was there, and everybody kind of realized that this was all about unions rather than electric cars. And now the infrastructure bill, I believe, or one of the bills proposed, allows for an extra $4,500 in federal tax credits for cars that are made at the manufacturing plants that have unions, which all big three do, and Tesla doesn't. Now, Elon was kind of quiet about it. He took a couple of shots on Twitter at Biden, but he finally was a guest at the CodeCon 2021 last week, and he kind of basically called them out. He basically said, "Listen, this is all about unions. It has nothing to do with electric cars. I mean, we should have been invited as the leader," and I agree with him. Now, Vice President of United Auto Workers Union tweeted back at him saying, stop whining, good leaders appreciate good workers. But then I looked it up, and, she was in the middle of a scandal when they were essentially taking money out of the accounts that should have been taken out of. And there was an FBI probe on that, into that. So I'm not sure about what kind of good workers she was talking about. But what this is in a nutshell. But what's your take on this?
Yeah, the last part that you just mentioned there, it's kind of funny. Since I live in the Detroit area, we are constantly inundated with news about the unions and the big three. So as you can imagine, I am used to seeing the corruption stories that come out of it. So hey, I'm on the same page as Elon. This is not about EV adoption. If it was, there wouldn't be any provisions in these new legislative bills that are looking to pass about the tax credit that skew towards the union manufacturers. So I'm with Elon on this, and as an EV advocate in general, like I love Tesla. I love all the other brands that are finally starting to jump on board and really invest a lot in the EV movement and make compelling cars. That's the other thing. So many years we went through and it was compliance car after compliance car, and now we're actually starting to see long range electric vehicles from legacy automakers and starting to make an impact too. I mean, I'm definitely with Elon here, where there should be not only this incentive that helps people get into new EVs, but also, where are the incentives for people for other e-mobility solutions like a used car rebate or an EV rebate specifically, or an e-bike rebate overhaul, things of that nature, so that we can really focus on getting it towards the climate agenda that we want to get towards in a quicker way from all aspects, not just from the electric vehicle side of things.
Well, here's an interesting comment. It says, oh, if I click on it correctly, man, there's just so many things that I'm trying to pay attention. No, I'm trying not to. Here you go. To hunt down the comment. Here it is. Tax credit. It's from PB 78234. I wish people had picked better usernames, but tax credit not needed. Tesla still sells like hotcakes because people want it. Well, I think the point is that everybody should be on the same sort of level, right? So if Tesla's not getting tax incentives, no one else should. But really, we would rather have everybody on. Like, this is the whole point, right? I want Tesla to get their $7,500 credit back, but I also want yeah, I don't want the extra money tax credits going towards specifically unionized factories and auto manufacturers, because it has nothing to do with the whole purpose. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, I understand if there's a cap on the 200,000 units that a manufacturer can make for an EV, but in reality, the amount of investment that those companies, like say, GM and Tesla, do not have that ability to, sell cars right now and get that credit. But the reality is that, they were the ones that kind of led the way. And again, you can say that the Bolt was a compliance car, not necessarily one that is super compelling, like the Model 3 or the Model Y and Tesla products. But
Don't get me started on the Bolt, honestly. Like, I don't. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt, because
yeah,
it's. I just made a whole video about how what's really killing GM is not the gas cars, it's the Bolt. And the way they handled it. I don't think it was a compliance car, honestly, but it looked like one, right? And they mishandled almost every single possible thing with them, including the fires. And yeah, so okay, yes.
well, even the newest rendition, it's like they're coming out with this EUV, and then there's no all-wheel drive available. It's just stuff like that where you need to make it in a practical sense for the whole country, and you need to sell it in all 50 states, in my opinion, as well. So, some of these other brands that are coming out with these new cars are only selling their cars in California or a limited amount of states. And that's even inclusive of Volkswagen's ID4. They eventually, they're the ones that are actually coming out and selling it to absolutely everyone. But there are other, like Mazda, for example. I know it's a silly car, but the MX-30, only selling in California. And we've seen it time and time again in the past, where these manufacturers aren't opening up across the nation because they're not ready to invest in having this take over, because they are worried about their investments and their internal combustion engine plants and things of that nature, to make sure that they're getting their money back on it. So they're not all in some cases.
Well, let me ask you this. You touched on. I know we're going out on a tangent, but that's fine. The ZEV states, right? Mainly people put blame on auto manufacturers, saying, "Well, you're not selling it in all 50 states. You're only selling in states that make it easy for you and require it." But I can make the other argument saying like, well, there's a bunch of manufacturers that only sell their electric cars in China or in Europe, and really United States is the last place they want to sell because their incentives and requirements are so much higher for and stricter for electric cars in other countries. Shouldn't we kind of turn around and instead of kind of blaming the auto manufacturers who are just trying to make a buck at the end of the day, I hate to kind of dumb it down like that, but shouldn't we go after the states that don't have the clean air requirements and say, hey guys, you really need to jump in here with the rest of the states, with the rest of the countries, and plus China?
Yeah, I agree with you in some sense because I get what you're saying there. But again, that also brings it back to the topic that we're talking about is the incentives. Is if there are compelling incentives, consumers will buy because of the total cost of ownership. It is uh, a money game, in this case. So if you can make a product that is usable for someone's everyday lifestyle and the price point makes sense for them over a gas vehicle over the extended period of time that they'll own it, including maintenance, then, you know, why wouldn't you sell in all 50 states? Because they think that they're not going to get the return on investment because they haven't invested in it yet. So it is kind of the chicken and the egg, like you're saying, chicken or the egg. But at the same time, kind of this EV incentive that at a federal level and also the state levels, each state offers their own incentives too, which could make it even more compelling. They need to
Yeah.
get on board because I think that if we really want to talk about climate change and make some changes to give a better future for everyone, this is one way that is super effective. We've seen it overseas that, Britain, China, all these places are starting to make these gas bans, and the manufacturers are responding. They are making an effort to then come out with a competitive all electric vehicle, and that's unfortunately what it takes, but it's working.
I love the story coming out of Britain over the last week because they had gas shortage, and the most Googleable term during that time was buying an electric car, right? Which is
Yep.
just perfect, right? Or it's just perfect. All right, I love that. So let's see. Let me catch up with some of the comments here. Here's an interesting one from Tesla. I don't even know. I'm not even going to try it. How do you, how would you pronounce this? Testash? Test. Anyway, Tesla. By he or she says Tesla bypasses the dealer network. Is this the new way to sell cars? So you know, it sounds great, right? And I can't believe I might be even defending the dealerships here, but I guess I'm defending more of a concept is that when it's the independent stores that are independent stores selling a product, you let's say you don't get a good service at one of them, you can go to another one down the street and they might provide better service or have better pricing or be able to negotiate. With Tesla, my problem, the reason I left Tesla was not the cars. It was the service, the way they treated customers, and it was essentially all across the board. They treated us very well in 2012, 2013. We were like a few of us, but once it grew, they just stopped giving a crap, right? So to me, there is something to it where there is a buffer of customer service between the manufacturer, a giant manufacturer, and the customers, because this way you actually have choices. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so I actually have a video on this because I went and spoke at the Michigan State Capitol against a direct
I saw
sales
that.
ban.
I
Yeah.
saw
So
that.
this is very near and dear to my heart because I have not only worked for automakers, but I've worked for dealerships. So I know probably too much. I probably know too much on this topic. But the reality of the fact is, Alex, is like you said, you left Tesla because you had the choice. So this is what's most important to me is that I believe that these manufacturers should be allowed to directly sell to consumers and that we should be able to make that choice whether or not we want to continue to buy that product. And that's part of the equation is service. If you're going to have a bad experience time after time, you should have the choice to be able to go elsewhere. And this also kind of taps into the right for repair thing where, you know, more and more we'll start to see these independent EV shops to be able to work on EVs for us. But in the meantime, it's still in the early stages where there aren't too many options to, from an independent standpoint, to get service. But the other side of it is if we do allow this direct sales consumer model, I think there also needs to be some provisions made for the right to repair, because they should allow an opening of some channels for independent shops to be able to service these cars too, without any kind of detriment to the owner. Because in some cases, you hear that the brands might lock people out from doing this because they don't want sensitive data and so forth to be transmitted between the shops and the brand, because they want to hold that data. It's very important to them. That's how they make money. So yeah, direct sales is really near and dear to my heart, because Michigan has has tried to fight it for a very long time, and luckily Tesla has made the loophole. But they were also trying to block service too, which is, nobody wants to own a car and not be able to have it serviced relatively close to them.
Yeah, yeah,
In our case, it was going to be out of state. So I think it's really important to call your senators, keep in contact with your policymakers, because this is a game changer. It really is a game changer for EV adoption. So
yeah. And I mean, honestly, I think both should be allowed. You should be able to
yeah,
direct, and you should be able to have dealerships. To me, as a consumer, I'd rather have a middleman. Not that my dealership experience has been great. I mean, I got to tell you, I picked up my ID4 and an experience online, ordering online and waiting for the car and finally building it was great. Until I got to the dealership, they still kept me for like 4 hours at the dealership with all the paperwork BS. Where I'm like, guys, been a reservation holder for 6 months. How are you not ready for this? Like, why not do all of this online? So yeah, I'm not advocating for dealerships in general. I'm advocating that there is something to it for consumers when there is a customer service buffer between the brand and the consumer. But I think both are broken, and I think a hybrid version would have been nice.
well, I think it's kind of interesting what brands like Polestar are doing, where they are creating their own spaces that are non-commissioned salespeople who work for the brand, that are representing the brand in the most positive way that they possibly can, and then kind of the back end of it is run through a local dealership, so that the experience of the purchasing process is streamlined and run through corporate and very pleasant, versus on the backside of the service, you still have that infrastructure, because that's the other thing that people are worried about, is that you don't have as many service centers when you go direct. And some of that is being combated by mobile mechanics showing up in your driveway and being able to do a lot of the work. But I think that's a really good blend, in my opinion. It's an interesting hybrid.
Yeah, and by the way, you mentioned right to repair. I had Rich Rebuilds on the show regularly. I'm actually going to see him at SEMA, and that's like the video that I have coming up is when I basically, I told him, I know we criticize Tesla all the time, but I said, well, what if you wake up as Elon Musk, as the CEO? You just happen to go somewhere, pee in the same fountain, and boom, you're Elon Musk next day. Well, now the buck stops with you. What do you do? And one of the things, of course, he mentioned was right to a repair, and absolutely agree. This is ridiculous what's they've done. But all right, let's move on to the next topic. Before that, let me answer a quick question that was here for me. Bob Gibson says, Alex, can we expect a 6-month update on your ID for ownership? All right. Well, it's a car. It's not a baby. I don't want to whip out my wallet with the baby pictures to everybody I see. I did one video about how why I reserved it, and then once I bought it, why I actually got it, and then I did a 3-month review, because now I know the car and all the pros and cons, and I know I crapped on Volkswagen a little bit because there are a couple of things. I love the car, but there are a couple of things that are completely unacceptable. Uh, and so, my experience is not going to change that much. I'll give you an update right now. So I just drove the all-wheel drive in Chattanooga, made in Germany, not in Chattanooga, but nevertheless, much more powerful than what I have. I have no need for that extra power. I got to tell you, I was driving relatively aggressively yesterday, beat every single car off of the light. So you know, so that's one. I even with driving an all wheel drive, I confirmed that I like what I got. And now here's an interesting thing. Here's a bit of a challenge because I've called Tesla out on this, and that goes to their shops. And so I basically I went to Auckland, parked my car where there were a bunch of people on the streets and the traffic was going on. Still, my car got broken into. I have a hole in my little window. So not the first time. We call it the Auckland tax. But I now have to file the claim, glass only claim, and I'm going to be interested in how long it will take to get my part in there. I know there are shortages already and delays with parts just because of just COVID. But I want to see if there's any extra delays because this is a new model and they haven't gotten the parts in. So that's something that I will definitely keep everybody updated. But other than that, love driving it, love charging it for free, love my massage when I go home from my hockey and soccer games or drive long distance. you know, it's a match. So I'm gonna stick with it. I don't think I'm gonna be doing too many monthly updates. Not much is gonna change. What's your impression? I know you test drove the ID4 and had a video about it. What's your impression about
I
it?
liked it. I actually really liked it. I drove a first edition, but yeah, I
That's
thought
what
it
I
was
have.
pretty. Yeah, it was pretty impressive. I thought it's overall very good. I am always advocating for more range, but other than that, I think that the materials and the handling, I love the ride height. It feels really nice. It's not too high, not too low type thing. But I was actually really impressed with the ID4. I have seen quite a few on the road as well. So
Yes, we wave to each other like I did
yeah,
with Tesla back in the day. Yeah, yeah. No, listen, the biggest criticism of ID4 is that it's so slow. What are your thoughts? This I think this comes to being a woman actually and not giving a crap about it because that's not a thing that you need out of a vehicle. Would you agree?
well, it's not. Well, I do want to be able to merge on the highway nice and
Yeah.
quickly enough, but I think it does it quickly enough. I don't think that there's any reason to be nervous or um, compelled that you're not going to be able to get up and around anything. Yeah, for me, most importantly, I want to be able to use it. So put everything in the back. Those seats fold completely flat, which is awesome. And um, it just feels super comfortable. That first edition, the seating materials, everything, it feels really, really nice. And the layout, especially in the center console area, having that be a little bit more flexible, you can move those cup holder um, things in and out and wherever you want. I like the flexibility of that. So I'm huge on usability, but also comfort. So the practicality for me there isn't necessarily about the speed, but really how comfortable and practical it is.
I never asked actually. What do you drive?
A Model S.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that. Okay, you're a Tesla girl then. Okay,
Yeah,
that's see that I love that because
2016, 90D.
90D. Okay, I had an 85, then I had a 60, and then I had a 70D. I think. Yeah. See, that's another thing. It's so hard to find. People who, at least influencers, who drive a Tesla, but yet love the rest of the electric car universe, right?
Yeah.
So like I love my ID4, but I'm not a Volkswagen guy. As a matter of fact, I think the rest of their lineup, the gas cars, are the fuggliest cars I've seen in a long time. When I showed up to their dealership to pick up my ID4, I thought this was like a used car lot from 1980s because their design is awful. I'm not a brand guy here. I just like the car. And everybody else I root for, including Tesla. People think I hate Tesla for some reason, but all right. So oh, here's an interesting comment. Here, let's get your opinion on this one. So Roger M, one of the regulars, I think hasn't missed a live stream yet. Model S, CEO of Lucid, is the father. He was talking about Peter Rollison, Elon ignores him now. So, Peter Rawlinson was a chief engineer of Model S. And there are rumors that, the Model S wasn't doing very well until Elon brought Peter in, and Peter actually got it to market and being a great car that it is. But then Peter became the CEO of Lucid Motors, and now, essentially beating Tesla in range as soon as they deliver their first car, which looks like in a couple of weeks. And then Elon started saying that, well, we don't even know who he is. Even he definitely wasn't the chief engineer. Where there's tons of Tesla materials out there. Actually, Tom Malogny discovered that Peter is listed as a chief engineer. What do you make of this kind of a rivalry? Is it good? Is it bad? Do you like how Elon handled it? Do you like how Peter handled it?
You know what? Everyone's going to handle everything differently. I'm not going to agree with how everyone handles everything, but I love the competition, and it only makes the industry better. Honestly, that's what I love about it, is that if they're going to spar, people are going to try to one up each other, and I'm very okay with that. I love that idea that you're going to get more people trying to, and that's the thing that you see nowadays, even from Ford, is that they're going after Tesla, even though they might not necessarily directly compete, because technically Tesla is in the premium segment. And I know some people want to argue about that, but the reality is that they are, and that segment is very profitable. And now that Peter is running a company that is going to bring out something that is set to compete with the Model S, we'll see how much so. We've already seen a couple of reviews come out from the first drives, but I'm excited to see really long-term stuff. But I also know that for a fact, Tesla isn't really all in on the luxury side of things. And so the Lucid Air is really trying to compete more with an EQS or a Mercedes S-Class, get more of those gas drivers coming over and buying electric. And so the materials and the appointments in the cabin are absolutely beautiful. And in that segment, you can, get higher profit margins, which will help you build out vehicles that are more accessible to people in the future. So I like the sparring, I like the competition, because it's only good for the EV industry. Bring it on.
Yeah, I agree. The competition is great. I can live without the Twitter BS between Elon and other people, but I think it's great. And this is the first time that any brand actually was able to beat Tesla in range, and I'm perfectly fine that it's now when the range doesn't really matter to me. Honestly, over 200 miles for me is more than enough. Like, I don't like my ID4 is not even plugged in right now, and not because it's got LG cam batteries in it, but because yeah, but because I just don't need it. Like, and when I go to Oakland and I come back and I don't even charge going to. I mean, it's an hour and a half drive. So,
Yeah,
for my taste, it's good enough.
I'm a big range person because I do a lot of road trips. So for me, you're only using potentially up to 80% until you're charging again. And then so I do a lot of road trips to Wisconsin. So this weekend I drove from, my place to Michigan all the way out to Wisconsin. And while I got to the place in Wisconsin, I want to be able to have enough range to drive around while I'm there and then go back on my road trip and charge again. So mine is because I'm abnormal in the sense that I do a ton. Like, I have 83,000 plus miles on the Model S, drive it a lot, and most of that is on road trips, because for my day-to-day job, I'm not doing a 9 to 5 where I'm driving to work every day. So like 95% of my miles are road trip miles. So I'm a big advocate for range for that reason.
I hear you. By the way, let me backpedal a little here, because I don't know if I don't know if LG Chem is providing all of the batteries for ID4. Now, I know once they made here in the United States, it's definitely going to be SK Innovation now that they've modified that lawsuit. But so I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, it's just, I don't need it. All right. We got a super chat, but then we're going to move on to another million topics. So the super chat comes from a regular super chatter. Nate Jones, he says, and it's $5. So you know where that's going. I don't know if you know, Lacey, but I eat at Chipotle every day, like literally same thing every day. The only thing that's
You're a
changed is
routine guy.
my I'm a routine guy because I have so many non-routine things in my life that I like when I can't be at the routine, Plus, I live in two different places. I have a routine for each place, but Chipotle is a part of both of them. And the only thing I changed, they had the best chocolate milk ever, right? Chocolate milk is the best way to like rehydrate yourself because I play sports, and they went from the best chocolate milk to literally undrinkable piss that's packaged as chocolate milk. So now I had to, switch to the frescas or whatever. So, but other than that, I'm a Chipotle guy. So thank you for sponsoring half of my Chipotle, Nate. But let's get to his question or comment. How familiar are you with the vintage EVs? I mean, things like the city car EVs from the gas crisis or the EV featured on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Uh, so, Nate, I have no clue what any of these are, so I am not familiar at all. But what about you? Are you familiar with any of this?
No, I'm not actually. I mean, I know of like some of the really old. Like I did a piece on the Mach E, a drive review, and I actually featured Clara Ford's Detroit Electric, and that was 1911, I think. So I mean, that's classic.
Yeah, that is classic.
But yeah, the other little and also on my Amelia Island video, the event that I worked this spring, I featured a lot of classic EVs, which were really cool. So definitely go check that out if you're interested in classic EVs. But I have a hard time remembering a lot of the names of the specific ones, of like the ones that he mentioned in that question. Don't ring a bell to me.
Yeah, sorry, Nate, but thank you for the super chat. Okay, so someone says chocolate milk is good, says Brad Jackson, as long as it's chocolate milk. I don't think it's chocolate milk. That's what I've been having at Chipotle, so I switched.
My camera guy is very adamant that chocolate milk is the best drink of all time. Period.
I'm big. I would
You would make
agree.
great friends.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Mark says, Alex, I hope you cashed in on your Chipotle stock. Make some of other meals back. Well, actually, I don't do investments. I've never invested into anything except for Tesla stock, and I sold it, before I became a journalist. For the reason became a journalist, and because I wanted to buy a house. But so I don't do stock. I'm just investing in their grilled chicken and sour cream. So I'm good. Um, all right. Here's another chocolate. Now people want to talk about chocolate milk. Roger says, if you don't do chocolate milk, you'll end up with a suntan. Right. Well, I might use it. I don't know. Like people don't know that my skin does not tan. I'm extremely. Even Russian people say, "Man, you are really pale." You know. So I can use one. Uh, Here's another comment in Russian. I'll skip that. Tony believes that chocolate milk is yummy as well. Look at this. We can actually do the rest of the show about
Full show. Yeah.
chocolate milk, and I'm fine with it. By the way, I can talk Chipotle all day long. But let's get to the next topic, which is, this was almost the big topic for me. Is now I have to say that I don't want to know if I want to share this, but anyway, so maybe I will. So Rivian R1T electric truck, Lucid Air electric sedan, and a Hummer EV all had this media drives. I don't know if you went to any of them. Did you?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay, so I didn't go either, which is weird. I can actually tell you even why, really quick, because nobody watches this live streams. Rivian PR people are a-holes, and so the Lucid people are also became a-holes, even though they're all Biden PR people before that. I don't know
Oh
what's going
no.
on. I feel like brands are treating me like my Tinder dates, right? Like you email them and they just don't reply. They flake on you. It's I literally, my relationship with brands lately have been exactly what it is with my Tinder dates, but and I don't mean it in a good way. So I didn't go to Lucid just because, and I knew Tom was going. And a Hummer EV, even though I was like one of the few people who checked out the original Hummer, like when it was just a paper, you know, whatever mock-up, and then when they had the prototype, when it came time to drive it, somehow I got snubbed. But that's okay. But anyway, the point is that the all three are just about to go in deliveries, right? So Rivian already, they said they made one that's for deliveries. Didn't deliver one, even though they promised by the end of September. So that's kind of weird. But Lucid said they're going to start delivering them by the end of the month, and Hummer EV looks like before the end of the year. And all three are giant. I mean, these are major additions. Two startups, and then Hummer. That's originally was a gas guzzler. I feel like these are three big deals that we're gonna get on the road. What are your thoughts on all of them?
I'm with you. I did see that Rivian R1T, someone was delivered an R1T, so I've been following this. I follow the forums very closely, and I'm really passionate about Rivian because I have a pre-order in one. I have an R1T on order, and
Oh.
so I really like what they're doing and what
Wait, so there was a delivery?
there was a delivery. Yeah.
Okay, see, I'm behind on that. So then, boom, then we
Yeah,
have an
yeah.
electric truck on the market.
Yeah, I'll send you his
Yeah,
Instagram
yeah,
handle so
please.
that you
I'll
can
be.
follow
It would be.
along because I've
Yeah,
been like, "Oh, I want to see everything," you know.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I follow them pretty closely, and I have a pre-order on an R1T. But I'm waiting for the Max Pack because, like I said, I'm an advocate for a lot of range. So that one's gonna get just over 400 miles, hopefully. But I'm very excited about Rivian because I live that lifestyle. I do when I'm not working. I do a lot of hiking and camping and adventuring and all that kind of stuff. So that is right up my alley. And I love Lucid. I've spent a lot of time working with a lot of other luxury automakers, and I think that they're doing something really compelling and interesting and competitive, to be frank. And then lastly, the Hummer EV. I just watched Tom's video today, and I was just like so excited. I've seen the Hummer EV in person at the Amelia Island Concours this year, and it's huge. Like it is massive. I can't even explain how big this thing is. And
9,000 over 9,000 pounds, and they
right,
made it go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. Which again, I don't care about, but that's impressive.
it's that's the thing is that it is a compelling machine. It is impressive. I cannot wait to drive one of those, but I did see there were a limited amount of people, and they were at the actual proving grounds. And when I was on my way back from Wisconsin this weekend, I actually saw one of the Hummer EVs driving around near Ann Arbor. Their proving
Nice.
grounds are in Milford, so it's not too far away. So I kind of figured because Tom had mentioned to me that he was going to be doing over the weekend that drive that it's probably they're going back and forth charging up the pickups to be able to do these drives. But I'm impressed with all three of these uh, products, and I am very stoked for them to be coming to the market by the end of this year.
Yeah, and I mean, basically, the deliveries of the R1T and hopefully the Air at the end of this month essentially celebrates the beginning of an actual startup brand, right? So far, Tesla, if you think about it, Tesla is really the only startup in the automotive industry in Northern California, at the very least, I mean, in North America, and I think really in the world, maybe China excluded, but that just made it, right? Now we're gonna have two more within a month. To me, that's much more exciting. I think their vehicles are exciting, but to actually have two new automotive companies in the mix, to me, that's the biggest news here, and I love it. And with Hummer, it's what I liked about the Hummer is how well their user interface was developed by a gaming company, so their user interface is really embedded into the whole Hummer off-roading experience. So I really like that. But just a gas guzzling symbol going electric. To me, that's just this is what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it is, I tell people this all the time that I interact with at my job is we are living through history right now. It is so exciting to be able to talk about and be a part of the automotive industry right now because we are going through such a dramatic shift right now. It's so exciting, and that the fact that everyone is taking notice, and really Tesla did pave the way for this to happen, for these other startup EV manufacturers to be able to make the journey to manufacturing and production, which is a feat in itself. It's can't say it enough, but manufacturing is so challenging, and to be able to have a couple more companies come from an EV startup standpoint, go public, and then start delivering cars is so cool.
Yeah, and actually, let me tell you something, a bit of a story. I might go on a bit of a rant, but this is something that I've really, really noticed lately. So I was originally a web developer in Silicon Valley back in the day, Netscape, AOL, all that stuff. And we felt like, we were changing the world. Like, like we were part of something very special. Um, Unfortunately, what we thought was going to be an amazing thing like internet and iPhones turned out to be, I don't know. Now that I'm old, I'm like, oh, what did we do? But but as I grew up with a lot of my friends, most of my friends come from the industry from Silicon Valley, right? Everybody got older and slower, and they had kids, and they had medical issues or whatever. And as you can probably notice as a consumer of that industry, not much came out from out of Silicon Valley in the last 10 years or so. And everyone's hearts kind of like died, and but I'm relatively healthy. I don't have any kids. I'm not married. I don't have any, so I was still like my heart, I still have fire under me. And electric cars, essentially, if you think about it, is a new bubble revolution in the automotive industry, like the Silicon Valley was in the, you know, tech industry. And I feel like I'm doing it right this time, and I'm really realizing we're changing the world. Do you feel like this is a very unique, amazing time, and that's going to be gone in another 5 or 10 years? Because it's going to be like, yeah, we're going to call electric cars cars.
I hope that's the case, because that's like my dream come true, is that, that the general public, I mean, we still hear people every day, and I have friends in my business that are like, oh, I'll never buy an electric car. But the fact is that the general public, generally speaking, the mass majority should own electric cars. It only makes sense. And some people might be like, well, I miss the sound, or I miss the this, or like smell, I guess. I don't know. I don't like it. So um, yeah, I think that for the general public, this is such a huge opportunity to get costs down, and for people to have a just better driving experience. That's, I think, the key to it, is that, in my opinion, electric cars are just better. And trust me, I've been in all the hypercar brands that you can think of. And they are wonderful feats of engineering and magnificent machines. But I still have to vote EV all day.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. People are just joining in. Wesley is saying, "I'm enjoying this interview. New regular guest? Well, I don't know. We just met 2 days ago, really, and I
We
thought,
did.
hey, this would be a great addition. And I got to tell you, this is we got about what 260 viewers right now, which is the highest that I had in a while. So, obviously that's says something about how much audience likes me. I guess. Yeah. All right. Well, should we move into the next topic? There's so many different comments about so many different things. But okay, let's move on to Tesla really quick, because while I was doing my Sunday video, oh, by the way, I just realized I can't count because this is topic number 3, but whatever. Topic number 3 was Chipotle, I guess. So topic number 4, Tesla sets a new delivery record, which I found quite boring because that's just what Tesla does, right? It just beats all these records. And now here's an interesting part. So you can chime in and tell me if you're surprised by this or whatever. But there was an interesting tweet. There's Ark Invest. They're one of the biggest investors into Tesla, and Kathy Wood, I guess their CEO, she went on Twitter and an Elon style pooped all over GM and other manufacturers, and I think rightfully so. I wish I had a tweet, but she basically said, "Listen, how you guys are saying that your deliveries are down because of the chip shortage by 30%, when we are like 20% up, and there's way more chips that electric cars need. Like, what's up with that? What do you like? Again, not a big fan of Twitter high school fights, but what do you think? I mean, I think she has a great point."
I mean, yeah, if you just look at the numbers, it's really impressive what Tesla is continuing to do time after time again and hitting these records. I mean, 241 plus thousand deliveries is fantastic for a company like Tesla. And just like, for example, BMW, what they had the X3 and the 3 Series are their best selling, and they sold this past quarter 31,000 units. Like 31,000 units, and Tesla sold over 200,000 Model Ys and Model 3s combined. That's a big difference.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think when you look at it from a standpoint of, now this little EV company is, the little engine that could, but then comparing it to the other brands that should be dominating and have dominated in the, decades before them, it's just outstanding. It's fantastic. And it's really pushing the envelope. And it's actually making these other manufacturers produce compelling electric cars. Again, we talked about this before, but that's really what it's all about. And that's what I like to see. So I'm happy that Tesla is continuing to push through, even though everyone's going through this semiconductor shortage in the US. And they're coming out strong. That's for sure.
yeah. Now, honestly, just to be fair, Tesla's selling a very tiny amount of what bigger manufacturers are selling, like Volkswagen Group and so forth. So together, if you just count the number of chips that Volkswagen or GM needs compared to how many chips Tesla needs, those guys still need way, way, way more. And you only have one relationship with your suppliers, either you do or you don't, right? So it might be might be a little bit something to it, but I agree. I mean, Tesla has
Absolutely.
innovated. I think they're the only manufacturer that decided to use chips that are a little bit more available and rewrite their software to run on those chips. I don't know if there will be any kind of consequences on it just in the future, but at least they tried to go around the problem where Ford just parked like a million of F-150s in a parking lot, which you could see from space, which is actually true. And which is not hard to do, right? With the way our cameras work, you can see my bald spot on my head from space. But nevertheless, they parked a million of them in a parking lot and say, "Oh, we'll get them to you when we get chips." Where Tesla was like, "No, we're gonna continue figuring this out." So it's definite. Let me ask you this: like, what I mean, Tesla is setting an example of how to do things, even electric or not. How are these manufacturers are not getting this free advice from them and implementing them?
Well, they've already had the capital investment for all the other, systems that they have in place. So they see it as, well, we're kind of crippled by that right now. And kind of the same thing goes for like their dealer network, is like, we have this, really expensive thing that we can't really get rid of because we've already invested so much money in it, that for Tesla, it's so easy for them to make the quick shift because they're small and nimble and they don't have these legacy systems in place. Whereas these other auto manufacturers that have been around for so long, it's just, corporate America, you can't move that quickly sometimes because there are a lot of, points that you have to get to in order to even just bring it up in a conversation. So, and you want to get your return on investment on those investments already. So it's really a challenge when you get people like Tesla and Lucid who are creating proprietary technology that is going to really set them apart and be their competitive advantage. And
Yeah.
that goes with charging infrastructure too.
You already have more fans in my chat room than I do. Here's one from Rodets White. I vote for having her as a regular guest on the channel. And this is
You
one
guys
of
are
many,
sweet.
by the way. Absolutely. And I like usually I have a guest for 5 or 10 minutes. This has been fun for me. I have a doctor appointment as an old man that will make me actually have a hard stop. And then of course Chipotle. But okay, there was a couple of other comments I wanted to bring up. Okay. Hold on a second. I actually want to find it because there. Oh, okay, so here's the one. Here's the one. And I know this is a regular, but sorry, man, I'm going to do this to you. 10M Elvis says Tesla is hiring the best and brightest engineers. That's another mode for Tesla. So, and again, Lacey, chime in here if you feel like it. But Tesla, don't forget, there are a lot of bright people who have left Tesla. Whether the executives, the top two choices for the autopilot development have left. The guy who right now is in charge is their third choice, if you remember, and they've never were able to replace them. There are tons of engineers. just when I lived in Silicon Valley, I know people who worked for Tesla and didn't work for Tesla. Um, it is a lot of people don't want to work for Elon. A lot of people who work for Elon don't want to do it anymore, and so that actually creates a rough environment, right? Thing with Steve Jobs. So it could be questionable whether Tesla does really have the brightest engineers, because brightest engineers don't like to be treated like Elon treats a lot of his employees. And I've talked to so many, from his former VPs to people who work in the manufacturing facilities, and they kind of all say the same thing. Hey, I respect the guy. He fucking changed. He's just changing the world, and I just can't work for this guy. He's just too brutal. So I'm not sure, Elvis, if Tesla does have the brightest engineers at this point. What do you say?
I The one thing that Tesla is definitely doing right is that they are doing a mission-based they're a mission-based company that is inspiring people, and people want to work at a company where they feel like they can see tangible change. So that's the reality of the fact, is they're getting a lot of talent that wants to go work for them, uh, unlike a lot of other brands, just because of that, because of the mission, and because that they're actually doing things that are impactful and they can see a tangible change. Whereas a lot of these other legacy automakers, you kind of get stuck in the mud sometimes when you have to go through these processes and all this corporate policy in order to get any kind of change or any kind of innovation moving forward. So there's some advantages, but yeah, there's also some disadvantages. When you go work for a company like Tesla, you're spending every last minute and all your ounce of energy working towards, this mission. So a lot of people that I've known that have worked for Tesla say it's just grueling hours, and so you tap out, like it sometimes people just can't handle, and rightfully so, putting in that much energy, and they find, I need more time for my family, or myself, or whatever. So it's understandable on both sides of it, but they're definitely getting more interested talent because of the mission, and because you can get things done, innovative things,
Yeah.
and compelling innovative things.
Yeah, that, and the same thing with Steve Jobs, right? The way to invent an iPhone is to be that type of a boss. So I get it, but again, I think some of the brightest minds have left Tesla and gone somewhere else, including Peter Rollison. I mean, you got to give it to him, right? He
Well,
was the guy who brought the Model S to market, and now he just got a car that's got a he's better at range and better at charging. So which is great. Which is, again, I like that. Now, before I
the
get off
fact
my high
is,
horse, yeah, go ahead.
the fact is too, is that once you work for Tesla, you can write your ticket, to anywhere else afterwards.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
looks great on
totally.
your resume.
Well, absolutely. All right. So here's a great comment, which I get all the time. So Robert Will says, I think you just hate Elon Musk. I don't know what that emoji icon is for. I don't know. But he says, I love him. And I think that's kind of I think this is the biggest problem I mean, I know I'm going to speak in cliches now, but like, I think this is the biggest problem we have, not only in our niche, but just in a country in general. What, like, you hate him, I love him, right? I don't hate him. I think he's one of the most important people in the world. It's kind of funny when I say that, nobody listens. But when I criticize him just a little bit, they're like, "You hate him," and I mean, do you really love him? I mean, do you really love a billionaire Elon Musk? Right? Where's your mom? Where's your wife? Right? Because why do we have to go to extremes? Like, I respect Elon Musk and I think he's very important, but he's also a douchebag, hard to work for, and does some things that are not acceptable, or says things. Why can't both be true? Why do we have to be on extreme ends of one or another? Even though we're just talking about electric cars, I love electric cars, but it's first world topic. So no, I don't hate Elon Musk, but I also don't love him. I love my mom, you know, but I don't love Elon Musk. It's actually quite disturbing that people literally will take a bullet for him. So I wish we would just all kind of like get back closer to the middle on every issue, right? Then just go like love, hate, black, white, Tesla, enemies. And what's your take on it within this niche of electric cars?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page with you. Like I just can't think of another person who's been so like much more impactful for um, what their mission is, and also that is affecting a lot of different areas in the world. He's just changing a lot of things, and you have to just appreciate the fact that he's go getting and doing all these things. Like what, 4 companies he's running, it's crazy. It's hard to just run one company. So it's inspiring what he's doing, but yeah. I'm with you on all, like, this isn't just an Elon Musk thing. Like, I just don't like the tit for tat and polarizing and all that kind of stuff. So it's not necessarily a dig on him, but I just yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not into the you know, interesting tweets every once in a while that I see that are like,
yeah, yeah.
interesting
Well,
choice of words, or you know, memes or pictures that I've seen. I'm like, ugh.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just brought in another comment on the screen. It's another one. It says, Alex, you do talk negatively about Elon. Admit it. I do, as much as I talk positively about him. So somehow, like, I don't understand. Like, like I've always said, like, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even have this awesome job. I wouldn't drive an
No.
ID4. There is no ID4 without Elon Musk, right? Like,
Mhm.
Elon Musk's greatest invention is ID4, Lucid Air, the Taycan.
Exactly.
So, like, why again? It's just so weird. And just like people say, well, of course you'll have ID4. Volkswagen's your sponsor. It's like, but I just crapped on them today. Earlier today, I crapped on them. I crapped on them, because they deserved it. I'm not gonna, and so, and also I don't think people are aware that I actually got my car first, and then we did the sponsorship. So it's so polarizing. It's tiring. All right. Do
Indeed.
you want to add anything to it, or do you want to move on to the next topic? Because
I'm with you. I'm on the exact same page, so
okay, all
nothing
right.
more to add there.
What's our next? Okay, so we won't be able to go over them. So I'll give you a choice. So we have Lordstown Motors factory sold, Atlas pickup truck prototype unveiled, and Rolls Royce unveils its first EV. Pick one.
Oh, that's a tough one. Um,
So the Lordstown Motors, they sold their factory so that
yeah,
they can make the trucks, because the Foxconn is going to own it, rent part of
right.
it back, and make their trucks for them.
And also make Fisker's second vehicle there, supposedly.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they're gonna. I mean, Foxconn has their fingers. They've been trying to get into the EV business more prominently over time, as you've seen. I mean, used to be sponsored by Byton, and they were doing a deal with Foxconn too. So
yeah,
they've for quite some time been trying to, get integrated and become a true EV, not only manufacturer but supplier or whatnot. They've been trying for a while. So I'm not surprised by this. And yes, Lordstown really did need the help. They've been struggling really hard this year, and they are, before this deal, they were not, as long as it goes through, they were not going to be able to get to production.
yeah,
It,
yeah. And
it
I,
wouldn't have happened any other way. They needed to do something.
yeah, I totally agree. And how you mentioned Byton, the love of my life. I love them so much. Oh my God. I'm so bummed that out of all manufacturers, that we thought we're going to go belly up, like Faraday Future, for example. And the funny thing is, former CEO of Byton is now the CEO of Faraday Future. So
Mm-hmm.
the irony. All right, we got another super chat. It's from the same person. He's just super chatting the hell out of this. I appreciate it, Nate.
2 more burritos.
Yes, well, it's $10 now. I can afford guacamole today. I'm going all out, guacamole and everything. You know. So, actually, you know what? I actually will take guacamole today. They have one of the best guacamoles. The only better guacamole I've ever had was at this hole in the wall place in Santa Clara, California, called El Amigo Burrito. Even though they're run by an actual Mexican family, like a real, like the best Mexican food, but it's like the weirdest name for them. But they have better guacamole than Chipotle, but Chipotle is definitely out there. All right. Oh man, now I need to take a drink. But
Look what you
okay,
did. Look what you did. He's dreaming about guacamole.
Yeah. So, all right. Speaking of Tesla and Senator, I've been wondering the reservations. If it's legal for manufacturer to sell cars directly to consumers, how can they do reservations? I'd also like to know how to do this myself. To make reservations or to take reservations, you have to have a car company to take reservations. So that's number one step: create a successful car company. But and chime in as well, because you know a lot about this. You can take reservations and deposits. You cannot charge for the car ahead of time. So that's and deposits don't have to be refundable. Like Tesla doesn't do refundable deposits anymore. I don't know if people know that, but the rest of the manufacturers do. You put a deposit because the product is the spot and line, right? So that's what it's kind of a separate service almost, and then your payment for that service, $100 or whatever, gets converted and goes towards your down payment. So that's how it works. It's absolutely legal. What's not legal, I believe, and again, I'm not an attorney, but is to charge, like, let's say $100,000 for a car that doesn't really exist yet, or is not guaranteed to be made. But other than that, and the reservations is a funny thing. I mean, like Model 3 had a huge reservation line, and then we find out that only like 20 or 30% of reservation holders ended up getting it. And most of the Model 3 purchases came from the outside, from people who never bothered making a reservation. So it's a funny thing, but yeah, that's how it works, and I think I'm okay with it. What do you think?
Yeah, we obviously have seen in other industries that the pre-ordering and putting deposits down for things is like commonplace, and Tesla really pushed that in the modern era of automotive. But really, the reason why a lot of manufacturers do this is measuring the data. So it's not only a place in line for the customer, but then the manufacturers can determine a lot based on, and like you said, maybe 20 or 30% are in on it, but the idea is to be able to have that measurement, because they love data and love measuring everything when it comes to deposits or hand raisers. If you sign up for a newsletter or you want a test drive, all of that information is very important for automakers to not only product plan but use amongst their whole ecosystem to be able to do a lot of things, whether that's plan events or work with their dealers on allocations and things like that. So it's really the measurement of data is the most important thing about the deposits.
Yeah, and David says, first rule of business is to use someone else's money. Can't agree more, right?
Well,
um
yeah,
go ahead.
technically in some cases, like, you're restricted to what you can do with that money too. So,
Yeah.
because like you said, if it's refundable.
Whenever somebody asks me how to start a new business, because I've had other businesses before this YouTube channel, this is the most unplanned baby I've ever had, which I never thought of YouTube would be my thing. But when I had other businesses, and people ask me, how do you start a business? Like, how do I make this product? And I was like, no, 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 don't make a product. Just put together a reservation website saying this is the product that we're going to have, and you can put down a reservation or at least collect an email address, so that way you can gauge interest, because
Mhm.
people think their stuff is the best, right? I invented this, it's going to change the world, it's going to be disruptive. People are, oh, I invented a disruptive product, right? And you go like, it's not at all. But so the best way to test it is not go to your mom or your wife who say, oh, this is the best thing, honey, right? You go out, you present your product without making it, and then collect how many emails or contacts of how many people are interested, and then you make a product if it actually is a good product. So reservations is a great way to do business, I think.
Mhm. Absolutely.
All right, we got another super chat from David. He said $20. You guys, you just literally sponsored the rest of my week in super chats for my
Alex is going
burrito.
to be just floating in Chipotle burritos. That's
Well,
a picture I want to see on your social media this week.
if I don't get a burrito, I get a bowl. Because I mean, I try to eat
Oh,
healthy, right?
even
So I get a
better.
bowl. Yeah, I don't get the beans and stuff like that. So, but yeah,
Ah.
all right. Somebody suggested the GoFundMe campaign. Okay. Um, David, the super chat says high cost early EVs, but what do you see the timeline for $20,000 decent range EVs? Okay, a decent range $22,000 electric vehicle. I think it exists now. I think the 2022 Nissan Leaf, after the incentives, I think exactly is $22,500 with a 150-mile range. And to me, that's decent. It's not even great because I think 200 plus, but 150 miles, it's no longer a fugly looking car. It's a decent Nissan looking car. It's nice inside. It drives fine. So I would say we already have one, David. What do you think, Lacey?
I agree with you. I think the Leaf is it's been around for so long, but it is a great car, and especially for first time EV buyers. But I get what he's saying. The price point right now per kilowatt hour is right around the like 130, 120 mark for batteries, and it is like dramatically dropping. And we're starting to see so much more investment in, like we just saw Ford announce that they're building and investing, a ton of money in those plants down in Tennessee and Kentucky in order to, uh, you know, get into the battery supply chain business. So the more that we are investing in creating battery technology, whether it's here in the US or, just having suppliers that offer batteries, the more we're going to see the battery price drop naturally. And also, it's dependent on different cell chemistries. It is, I think there's like even a patent on LFP here in the US that expires relatively soon. But that kind of technology is even cheaper than what we see in a traditional lithium ion cell that a lot of the other manufacturers are making. So chemistry matters. The amount is significant. The volumes, if we can get the volumes up, that's going to be super helpful in getting that price point down. But I think it's going to be sooner than later because you're seeing so many people, GM with their Ultium partnership, with Ford creating their own battery facilities. Obviously, Tesla is leading the way with that, with Gigafactory in Texas. So I think it's going to be sooner than later. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a hard guess in which
Yeah.
year. There's so
Yeah.
many factors to consider, but I think it's sooner.
Chemistry does matter. Another thing that I've learned from my Tinder dates, but okay, so Xpong Fangirl says $22,000 EVs are not profitable. Not if you sell a lot of them. The lower priced items are all about selling a lot of them. The lower the price, the more you can sell. And even if you just get a little bit out of it, it's good. As long as the battery doesn't catch on fire, says Jay Ramirez. I know you liked my little, hit on Chevy Bolt when I saw it yesterday. The Davis is here in California, Drive Electric Week. That was like one of the last events. There was
Oh
another.
my God! Can I just tell you the story of
Yeah,
freaking out?
please
I was
do.
at I was at a supercharging station the other day, and a guy pulled up with his Chevy Bolt, and it was the older version. I don't even know if he knew that there was a recall on it
Uh
because
huh.
he was going up with a Tesla tap and trying to plug into a supercharger. And it
Wow.
really freaked me out because I'm like, uh, at this time, we don't know what's going to happen. So if like, please stop what you're doing. Have you ever
Right.
tried that before? That's not going to work. Tesla taps only work on destination chargers. Please don't try it on a supercharger because we don't know what's going to happen here.
Wow. You should have taken a video. That's a great YouTube video to you should have just put him on camera.
Right? He was such a nice guy after
Uh,
talking to him for a while, but it was like, I was like, ugh, ah,
yeah.
please stop.
I feel like most Chevy Bolt owners are nice people. It's just, they're, yeah, okay. Oh, this is another comment. Jay Ramirez says, yeah, if Alex gets enough donations, he can buy a Lucid. You know what? That's not a. I don't mind crowdfunding my Lucid with super chats. That's going to be a lot. But Nate, once again, is his third super chat of the of the day. Nate says a problem I've seen heard EV startups is doing a crowdfunding campaign and never actually deliver a car. I'm curious how reservations are different.
Legal. I mean, like, there's a lot of red tape involved in, starting your own EV company, and so legally there's a lot of investment with all the small fine print, as you'll see when you do make a deposit on anything. But yeah, I mean, like, as we were talking about Byton, it's so tragic because they just seemed like they had all the right ingredients, and nope, they didn't make it. It's so hard to get through manufacturing and production. So
It is. It is. Let's see. Volume is king, says PB78234. Cute name. Cute name. Just rolls off the. Faraday Future took deposits. Yeah, you can take deposits. They have to be fully refundable, right, Lacey?
well, it depends on the legal fine print. That's the thing, is that as long as you are making it clear what is happening with those deposits, they could have a provision in there that says, non-refundable, like you had mentioned before, or, as long as those terms and conditions that we all don't like to read
Right.
say what they need to say.
Yeah. Here's, by the way, a lot of people joining and they don't know who you are. And here's another question from Terry. What's your YouTube page? Just for those people who have been here recently, tell everybody who you are again and how they can find it, how they can find you on social media.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on pretty much any social media site at Misco Electric, all one word. And then my YouTube channel is youtube.com/Misco Electric.
You know what? I'm just going to put it in the, I'm going to put it in
I think I
a,
tried to type it in there before, but I
yeah,
don't know.
here you go. I just typed it in. Now, listen, we got to go very soon, but we have another special guest, and I actually want you to stay. If there was a perfect guest to join us right now, well, who would it be?
I don't know. I saw someone floating in there over there on the side, and I
Oh,
don't
you're
know
cheating.
if it's the same person, but is
All
it?
right.
Is it
It
him?
is, it is him. It is the one, the only Tom Malogny is in the house.
Hey,
Tom, how are
Tom!
you? Oh, we can hear him, huh? Can you hear him?
Nope, not
Hey
yet.
guys, sorry about
Oh,
that. I
there you
was
go.
on
Hi.
mute.
There you go.
Hey,
What's going on,
Tom.
Tom?
How are you, Lacey? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Man, that Hummer EV video you just put out, wow, it literally blew my mind. I
It
loved
blew
it.
my mind too. And the crazy thing is, guys, I've had the opportunity to drive like every electric vehicle, although I haven't done the Model S Plaid yet. I did a new Model S long range, which is, nearly as fast as the Plaid. But I just drove the Rivian R1T. I just drove the Lucid. I've driven them all. That watts to freedom is nuts. It is crazy. I don't know how it moves 9,000-pound vehicle off the line so quickly, but it feels like you're in a fighter jet going off an aircraft carrier. When they stomp on it, it wants to push you through your seat, not just put you in your seat. It was crazy.
I literally watched it like over and over again because of you like going back in the seat like that. It was just so funny, and you're giggling like a little schoolboy. It's great.
Yeah. You can't fake that. Of course I knew it was going to be fast and everything, and it might just be like that feeling you get when you're in this big truck that's high up, like when you're in a Model S or a sports car like a Taycan and you launch it, you're kind of ready for it, but you're in this big pickup truck with 35-inch knobby tires, really high up with it's such a wide truck, you almost can't even reach the person next to you. And when they launch it, you just get thrown back into your seat with such a force. I couldn't help it. I was like laughing. People are commenting like, stop laughing on my channel, but I couldn't help it. I was just, it was so much fun. That and the crab walk. We did the crab walk, and it's just a weird feeling because like the vehicle's moving sideways as you're driving. Like it just, you want to stop and just understand what's going on here because you can't really process that. You're not used to a vehicle moving sideways as you drive. So the Hummer EV is exciting. We didn't get the opportunity to do a full comprehensive road test. I only drove about a half an hour, but it left me wanting more, and that's a good thing.
I gotta tell you, I haven't seen Tom this excited about a vehicle in a while, and you've gone to so many more, probably all drives this year. That's it definitely makes me curious that maybe they do have an amazing winner on their hands. Um, the only my concern is, and you guys chime in, please. It looks like because they sold out in 10 minutes, and when you sell out, $112,000 car in 10 minutes makes me think you're only making five. So, like, what any estimation of how many are they actually going to make this and then next year?
So I think it's just a couple thousand for this first run, and it's called Edition One, and it's $112,595. But then the next version, and I forget the nomenclature, it's like 3X something. That one comes out right after that, which should be in, I think, about a year. I think in the fall of 2022. And that one's going to be, I think, 99,000, about $100,000. And then I think 6 months later, one's coming out that's $80,000. And then I think one's coming out that's a little bit less than that, like 6 months later. So I think to get down to the least expensive one, which I think it's 79.9. I forget the numbers, guys. I think we do have to wait until the end of 23, maybe early 24. So unfortunately, the affordable version, if 80,000 is affordable, is going to take a couple of years to get to it. But it seemed like an amazing vehicle. But really quick to correct you, Alex, you said you didn't think that you haven't seen me that excited. The Rivian R1T probably impressed me more because I was able to drive it for 30 miles off road and then 100 miles on pavement. So I got a better feeling for that vehicle, and I put a deposit on one. That's how pleased I was and impressed I was with it. But the Hummer EV, was just like stupid. Like it was just ridiculous, and it made me smile. So I'm not saying it's not as good as the Rivian. I'm just saying I don't know yet. We need to do a really long, comprehensive evaluation of it to really understand its capabilities. But so far, it's a blast.
Yeah, I would go with a Hummer EV for many, many reasons. But somebody in the chat room says, Pete says, another reservation, Tom? Your driveway isn't that big, LOL. Is there another reservation for you?
To that, I'll say you haven't seen my driveway.
That is true. It can host probably the entire fleet of all new electric car models for this and next year when
My
it's not snowed in,
could,
right?
my driveway could outlast my bank account, put it that way. But yeah, and to his point, I am getting the F-150 Lightning when that comes available. I'm one of the earliest reservation holders. I should be getting one in like maybe June of next year. Since I'm not an early Rivian reservation holder, it probably will take at least a full year. So it'll give me 7-8 months to see how I like the Lightning. Then I'll get the Rivian, and I'll be able to have both of them at once, and I'll be able to do some really cool videos. And then in a couple months, I'll decide which one I'm going to keep, and I'll sell the other one.
Nice.
Yeah,
Wow. High rolling.
Tom, that R1T is definitely over 6,000 pounds, so that's a business write-off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not 9,000 pounds, Lacey, like the Humvee. The Hummer is just nuts. I mean, it really is crazy. That's too big for me. Quite honestly, I wouldn't want the Hummer. But the F-150 Lightning and the Rivian R1T are right up my alley. So one of those is going to be a long-termer that I'm going to keep.
Listen, this old man has to go off to a physical therapy in another few minutes, but let's finish this up with a vote. And participate in the chat room, of course, and then Lacey, you'll start everybody off. But if we were to send Tom on a desert island and just give him one electric car to take with him, at this point, what would it be? Start us off. Not you, Tom. You don't get a say in it. We're.
I mean, the use case, a desert island. I'm going with. I'm biased because I already have a pre-order as well. R1T.
All right. Let's see if people are. Oh, oh, there's a question about your restaurant, Tom. Okay, here I'll put that one up. Really quick, Tom, do you still own the restaurant that was featured on Restaurant Stakeout? People
So
know way
no, I
too much
sold it
about you, Tom. Way
after
too
owning
much.
it for 30 years. And yes, I was the subject of a reality TV show. I don't know how many people have seen that.
I
I have
didn't
my
know
own
that.
1 hour reality TV show. It's floating out there. It's called Restaurant Stakeout. And the episode that featured me was called When the Cat's Away. So people are Tom Malogany fans and you want to see me on a TV reality show, you could look that up online. But I sold the restaurant 6 years ago and I went full time into electric vehicle consulting, advocacy, writing, videos, all that stuff, and never looked back.
All right. Well, comments are a little weird. Like somebody says Honda Prologue, Chevy Spark. All right, people just having a good time with it. All right, listen, I'd like to go. I'd like to go for another hour and a half here, but I'm sure you guys have things to do. And myself, I have to go to a physical therapy for my foot because somehow it's I'm getting old, and I still like to play hockey and soccer for a while. So I'm gonna go to that, and of course Chipotle. But we should do this again. And Tom, I am looking forward to seeing you in person for the first time in a year and a half tomorrow. You're my last friend who I haven't seen um, since the beginning of COVID. As a matter of fact, I think, no disrespect to Ford, and thank you for inviting us, but I think that's the reason I'm going rather than the whole GT thingy.
It's going to be great to see, Alex. And you're right. It's been, 2 years. We used to see each other at all these events all the time, and we always hung out. But it's been 2 years now, and crazy world in those last 2 years, hasn't it been?
Yes, I know. So I'm looking forward to that. And Lacey, it was so nice, hanging out with you. I just kind of thought,
Likewise.
jump in. We were kind of working on a different project, and I thought, well, this would be kind of cool to do this, right? And thanks for jumping in. It was fun. We should really, I mean, let's talk about this because it looks like people really like you. As a matter of fact, if I don't show up to the next one and you host it and Tom jumps in, I don't think anyone will notice. So we should definitely talk about it. But I really do have to go. Thank you for joining me, Tom. As always, great to have you on, and I will see you tomorrow. And this is the whole hour and a half. It's hour and 40 minutes we've been streaming.
Bye.
Right, gone by. All right, guys. I will see you next time, and have an awesome the rest of your day.
Yep. Thanks for having me,
Take
and
care.
thanks, Tom, for the.
Oh, I accidentally cut her off. I'm sorry. All right. Well, it's just me. I just wanted to say, you know what I should actually do because I have only done it once. But I should give another quick shout out to one of my sponsors. Description of this video. All right, guys. This has been fun. I really, 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 really enjoyed it, and I think just mainly because I had awesome guests. So, thank you to Lacey, Ms. Go Electric. Find her anywhere on social media at Ms. Go Electric, YouTube or whatever, and of course Tom Malogny, State of Charge. He's a host of State of Charge. It's easy to find on uh, um, uh, really anywhere. So, but mainly on YouTube. That's what you should watch, including his Hummer EV video. So, all right, I got to go and have a chiropractor work on my foot because I am old. But I've enjoyed this greatly. Next time we will also do it on Tuesday. This is a Tuesday live stream. So I'm just going to be in San Francisco hanging out with Tom. So we couldn't do that, but normally it's Tuesday, and I usually put a little thing on my homepage so you can use a reminder as well. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to Nate and David for super chats, and all of you guys who show up here every time to hang out with me. It is the best part of my week. Looking forward to the comments that are still going to be submitted in the future. But other than that, See you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.